Bullshit.
The Clippers lose, LeBron wins, and his story continues to evolve. It's the No Bullshit Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich, CEO and founder of Massolutions, the world's only no bullshit marketing firm. The Los Angeles Clippers lost last night to the Denver Nuggets, and this eliminates the Clippers after they were ahead 3-1 in the best-of-7 series in the NBA playoffs. The Nuggets won 3 straight. The Clippers are out. Now, normally the NBA playoffs don't mean a whole lot to most people. And in a weird year where they're playing in the bubble all in one place and there's no home court advantage and all that's going on in the world, probably even less are involved. But why this is significant is the 2 best teams most people thought coming into the playoffs were the Los Angeles Lakers, led by LeBron James, and the Los Angeles Clippers, led by Kawhi Leonard, the MVP of last year's champion, the Toronto Raptors. He switched teams to go to the Clippers. Prior to the Clippers being eliminated, I would have said LeBron had a 90% chance of winning his 4th NBA title in his 3rd NBA city for his 3rd NBA franchise. With the Clippers losing, I'm going to raise that up to 96.847% chance that LeBron now wins his 4th NBA title. There simply aren't a lot of great teams in the NBA any year. And in most years, there's 2 that are kind of head and shoulders above everybody else, at the most 3. It seems like everything's lined up for LeBron to win his 4th NBA title. Why does this matter to you if you're not an NBA fan, or if you're a LeBron hater, or even if you're a LeBron lover? Not lover, you love LeBron. Well, why it matters to all of us is it emphasizes the importance of how our stories have to evolve. LeBron has had a compelling story since he was a high school student and a teenager. And that story has continued to grow, and it started off almost all positive with all these great things happening early in his career. Then he had a couple missteps in the public eye, and he didn't win a championship for a while. And then he had the debacle of the decision, which I've written about in my book 10 years ago, and I've done blogs and podcasts about. In fact, just recently I did one to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the decision when he left the Cleveland Cavaliers to go to the Miami Heat and sign with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh to make a super team. It was the way he handled it. Not that he made that decision. That decision is okay. Players deserve to make decisions to go wherever they want. It was how he handled it in the public eye. It was a debacle. But what LeBron has always done is, after that, he surrounded himself with some tremendous storytellers. And he surrounded himself since the beginning with many strong financial and business advisors. So he didn't let the story end there. They lost the first year they were together as a super team, so the story had a couple of bad things in a row. His second year, he comes back and wins his first NBA title, then wins another. So he's on the pinnacle again, but then he loses the next year to the San Antonio Spurs, the antithesis of building a super team, because the San Antonio Spurs were a team that stuck together for the most part and were built around the coaching philosophy and about a team's game. And so they were the contrast to the Miami Heat. So he loses to them. So the story continues to evolve. Then he leaves the Heat, comes back to Cleveland, loses in the NBA Finals, but then wins Cleveland's first championship of any kind in 50 years. And he's the MVP again. So the story continues to grow. Then he loses to the Warriors a couple more times. And then he jumps to the Lakers. His first year with the Lakers doesn't go well. So again, the story's changing. But this year, it looks like he'll get his 4th NBA championship, which adds to a whole new story. He's now up to 4 titles. Not a lot of people have 4. Some have 5, 6, 9, 10, whatever. Bill Russell, has 11, but Michael Jordan has 6. Jabbar, I think, has 6. Magic has 5. So now he gets up in that upper echelon with 4. If he somehow doesn't pull it off this year, that adds to the story. Oh my gosh, how did LeBron lose? How did LeBron lose? The Clippers got upset and they still lost. So the point to all of us, the No BS marketing crew, the fans, the listeners who love the No BS mantra. The important thing to you is that your story is going to evolve whether you like it or not. So you have to continue evolve how you tell it. You have to continually change based on what's going on. You have to continually shift your big idea based on what you're doing at that time and what your plans are. You have to continually craft powerful storytelling pillars that support your big idea. And you tweak and you change it based on what you're currently doing and what your vision is. Just think about it in your personal life, regardless of what your age is. When you were a preteen, you thought a certain way. Then when you were a teenager, you had all kinds of dreams of things you wanted to accomplish. You were 15 years old, you couldn't wait till you drove. Then it was graduating high school, and you thought differently in college. When you were a senior in college, you thought a senior in high school was a kid. Then you get in your 20s, and you start doing all the firsts. You're getting your relationships and so forth. You might be growing a family, you might be buying a house. You think differently at 30 than 20. When you're 50, you think differently than 30. So think of the same thing with your storytelling for you personally, because you have to have a personal brand, and for your company. You have to continually evolve your story. You continually change what's going on, and you talk about the struggle. It's important to talk about the struggle. Why is LeBron James's story so compelling? The struggle that he had coming up, growing up in an economically disadvantaged situation, growing up in a family situation that was a challenge, but he turned it into a positive, and so did his mom. And then he goes and becomes an NBA player as a teenager. He does great things, but then loses some championship battle. And then he goes and leaves and has this happen, and he has that happen. And there's the constant comparisons and arguments about LeBron and Michael Jordan. And then he goes and has the decision, but they're all things that are shifting just like our lives shift. And all of us have had the chance to watch LeBron grow from a teenager to a 20-something to a 30-year-old to now in his late 30s. Well, the same's happening with your company. Mass Solutions, in the first 5 years of the company, I joke, we're on Mass Solutions 7.0. There's usually 2.0 version and so forth. We're Mass Solutions 7.0. The first 2 or 3 years, I was just so enthused to be on my own that I just thought about the work, and I was excited in the client work. That was probably for 3, 4, 5 years before I even took a step back and said, whoa, let's take this to another level. This business can really be a business. I was just thinking in terms of like creating and doing my thing and helping people tell their story. We've gone through about 6 iterations. We're now on the 7th one, where we're poised to grow, and we're in multiple states, multiple locations. That's a different story. We've got the no bullshit platform, which has all kinds of stuff. So do you. So does your company. It doesn't matter where you work. You're not on version 1.0 or even 2.0, unless you're in the first 2, 3 years of your company, which if you are, then that's an even bigger story. So your company's story evolves. You have to evolve how you tell it, and you talk about the struggle, the barriers overcome. Who helped you overcome it and how? Because then you're giving credit and pulling others into the story, and more people can relate because they've helped others, or maybe they're the person who's going through the struggle. So you build your story builder is a model. We have a trademark tool we have called Your Story Builder Trademark, where you do define the goals of that story and the target audience of that story, and then you break down what was the struggle? What were the barriers overcome? Who helped and how? What were the lessons learned? What were the key takeaways? What's your 6-word story, taking off of Ernest Hemingway's 6-way story? The Your Story Builder is something you can use, and you can do it your own way. But my point is, you have to talk about the evolution of your personal story, the evolution of your company's story. And you talk about the struggle, the barriers overcome, who helped and how. And you talk about the lessons learned. And you talk about the takeaways. And you talk about where you're going next. You have the chance to do this with your personal brand and with your company's brand. You have the chance to continually evolve your personal story and your company's story. So take a page from the great LeBron James, who I think is going to win his 4th NBA title almost with certainty now that the Los Angeles Clippers were eliminated. You can take and continually evolve your story just like LeBron has, and he's told it again and again. in different ways about different aspects. He's talked about the struggle, the barriers overcome, who helped and how. You can do it too. That's the lesson from LeBron's latest adventure and how you can apply it to your personal story and your company's story. Thanks for listening to this episode of the No Bullshit Marketing Show. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.